and then Izawik is like really busy making sure that everybody they don't let off the nukes or the psychonauts and all that stuff. So yeah, fortunately, given the nature of the reality that we are inhabiting now, fortunately, the safeguards against those being let off without proper authorization are pretty good. A few minutes ago, anybody, could have, they would have been on, go at the operator desk. So fortunately, that's changed now. So okay, there goes the administrators and the leaders, trying to settle everything down. Kazi, comes up to Dukin and says, "If you see the temple, you'll understand." So,
I'm eager.
And then meanwhile, Vicky is happy to bring you to back to the area where you were to discuss chemistry.
Great.
And that's going to be in that big square boxy building in that region back by Vuv. So Vuv, not surprisingly, is in that central position with that weird obelisk in the middle of that square. That's his frame.
So, Duke, you're going to go to the church, to the spiritual center.
Yeah, I'm gonna go see what it's all about.
So Divid kind of got a choice because on the one hand you've got all this cool chemistry, and on the other hand you have all this cool religion, and those are kind of like your peanut butter and jelly, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know which one.
Yeah, they're the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think maybe right now, maybe go with Nurin and see this chemical thing, because I think that's more of a threat. In fact, it could be almost an existential threat to the entire Mercap homeworld if this doesn't get fixed.
Mm-hmm.
It can have the religion, but without being able to.
So profane before sacred is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
That's right. Actually, before Dukan toddles off with the surprise, I want to ask him if he used any source or substance to facilitate the de-escalation, because in that case I would like to take a sample of that with me to Vicky so we can try to figure out how we can produce that.
You, in other words, get some kind of residue from how Dukan became affected?
Yes, please.
Okay, right.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me while we take a scraping.
That's right. I was going to say. So yes, leaning toward each other and partaking of each other's, vaporous, sporulent exhalations. I suppose we should be lucky that Renee has made no mention of licking.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
It's all inhalants.
Excellent. Therefore, let's see what happens when. See what happens. Whom shall we? Split screen. On the one hand, Dukin goes over on the map. You have the area that I circled and called Mercap Warship. As you can see, it's quite impressive with all sorts of statuary and a great big elevated plaza of some kind. Boy, that must be pretty cool if you're down there in it, actually. So, you are brought there with Kazi, who has much to show you. And remember, if you can find it in your files, the picture of Unum, who is kind of a gloppy shape compared to Ununu, who's a little more humanoid. And some things they actually have managed in their ritual depictions their representations of Monom are surprisingly accurate in that there is clearly a central mind and then other attached entities. So the religious picture looks like kind of God with all his angels, and then that fading off in a medieval way toward a multitude of the populace, right, around the edge. But what this really is a representation of how a powerful Merkap ideology actually is literally infectious. Okay, I think we are getting a view of what Dukan is seeing, bearing in mind that Monom is not Velvelv. Monom is the powerful Merkap who first had the kind of reality authority or influence over this area before Velvelv did.
Okay.
And so there's been sort of, if you will, I'm going to hell for saying this. There has been a paradigm shift in terms of whose impact is actually, shaping minds and substance here. So that's something you can probably pick up real quick. They worship Monom as the previous reality, and now they feel as though they are being attacked by the devil. or something like that.
Yeah, the way I kind of saw it was that Velvel was kind of the Metatron to Monom's, actual agency. He was the conduit by which Monom facilitated his reality. But
no, that's what happened to you and to Dukan in terms of Velvel.
Right.
But there's more going on here. We'll go over there and see what it looks like from the chemistry side, right?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah. So here, of course, things are very different, and boy, do they do things oddly with all of their equipment, right? All of their, as I say, it's like looking at sonograms instead of hearing voices, and just imagine this cube of a building full of all these busy little, analytical processes and chemical analyses. And we all know that the visual depictions of something like a virus or a chemical compound are presented as if they were little tinker toys and things like that, but their precise physical reality probably isn't like a miniature tinker toy. And so you're looking at these tinker toy style depictions of chemicals and stuff, and it's a little odd to see that abstractly they're correct, but they really aren't what you think of as, the actual compound. You know the actual compound. To you, it's sensory perception. So it's pretty freaky. Even just finding common ground for discussion would be impossible until you all realize you are talking about the same things.
Yes, so that's probably what's happening, actually. Nurun trying to reach out mentally to Vicky, who's showing graphs and pictures.
Right, yeah, exactly. So you can see the levels rising here. It's like, no, I see a line going up.
Something.
What's that?
What do you call that?
So
a lot of that kind of stuff going on.
Excellent. So there's insights to be had in both directions, certainly. And quickly, what you might think of as a little seminar or symposium forms of multiple people, coming in and, taking notes and chiming in with questions and things like that. So you've effectively got a little, in this laboratory space, benches are cleared and people sit on the benches, and, a big, somebody starts taking a big data set, making a big data set of what everybody's talking about. And so I'm thinking of maybe even as many as 25 senzu now are involved in this very animated discussion. So before we move into any roles, and I'm curious what Jerry has to say too, I simply want to make it clear that what they've been doing with VOOV, they've had two problems. One is that everybody got addicted to that narcotic that Monome had provided, right, through VOOV. So everybody had been addicted and opiated and sedated, basically. And so what they did was basically control the choke point, which is VOOV. And now everybody is on a very strict dosage, and excess is criminalized, and so basically that's how they can't stop it. So they figured they would just control the choke point. That's what they're doing with VOOV. And so that's in a way it's a defense. Monome's influence was very much to keep them basically docile, stupid, and not change anything, right? They would be basically neutralized. And so, however, Vicky's saying everything seems to have changed. Now we are dealing with a completely different set of influences that only, that are literally, in the form of physical attack. So we've had to shift to trying to synthesize a defensive measure. I mean, a defensive stabilizing measure, which was somewhat effective until I understand recent events, which I'm afraid I don't really understand. What happened out there?
Oh, it's a terrible thing. I have a feeling what's actually happening here is by trying to neuter yourselves or neuter your reality, that you've created something far worse and far more perverse than what was actually intended. Two things here, two factors. Monome's wanting to enforce his will upon your reality, as opposed to having one consensual reality has affected you. And Velvel, actually, is it VOOVs or is it, hold on, I'm confused with the name.
Yeah, Velvelv is the other monster mercap. Monome is all about conservatism, staying boring, and don't let us change. Don't let the aliens change us.
Right.
Velvelv is all about they're a fucking threat. Just look at them.
Okay.
The extent to which that those actually overlap is really dangerous.
Yes.
Conservatism, isolation, and then aggressive, hostile defense. You put those two together and you've got something that has a name.
Yeah, it's called America. But it's but we haven't taken into account what the Senzu want out of all of this. What is their reality, and how can we accommodate that? Right now, I see our physiology being used as a weapon, more of a hammer to stamp things down, when in fact we should be using it to broaden everyone's perceptions, and to go that route. So I can see both of them being very dangerous on our journey to one consensual reality. But I'm only one voice in probably billions on this planet. Who knows with mushroom people? I don't know. We're probably trillions or something. It's probably ridiculous. However, I think we can fix this if we bring the Senzu in, and instead of treating them like either children to be guided, we treat them as equals,
right,
and see what they can bring to this shared reality we all sit in.
And remember, the third big powerful mercap, who is Ununu, did have that very paternalistic, guiding thing going on. So
yes,
so
that's
cool.
right.
Yeah.
So that would be my opinion. I'm not sure how Naroon feels about this, or
have listened. Didn't listen.
Oh, what were you doing? Analyzing? Okay.
Trying to project what I am seeing and what I am knowing, trying to describe my workplace. Apropos more different.
Oh, boy, the graduate students really like you.
Yeah.
Right. So the junior researchers have quickly created,
Yeah, I think we have those two groups now.
Yeah.
After the symposium, like the cool guys and the professors.
Right. Exactly. So so we have.
So basically, I'm on the same boat. I'm trying to help them to figure out what they need to counter this, and to shape their own reality, and to be able to exist in their own bubble. So, but just with my tools.
Right. Well, this is an important point. One of the younger researchers, the obviously lower status researchers, starts to talk to you excitedly about how this goes very well with the Psychonaut program, which the military has co-opted. But if we were to think of the Psychonauts in a more positive sense, and then someone else quickly shuts them up and says, all that is classified, be quiet. Do you want to be working do you want to be working the yeast vats for the rest of your lives? Be quiet. So so they're spilling secrets, right? That they've actually been doing research into actually altering senzu physiology, neural physiology with chemistry, so that they themselves can start impacting reality. That's who the Psychonauts are. And they were being formed as almost, senzu mental nukes to, in the previous way of looking at things, they were an ultimate weapon, the senzu's best, most destructive weapon that they could come up with. And as such, that was actually pretty frightening from a MerCap point of view. But now we have a new reality going on here. So
although
what could the Psychonauts be there?
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead, Jerry.
I do tell them I do appreciate that, because just like with any new technology, it can be used for good or ill. However, if shepherded in the right way, then to be able to control and express your reality in a more efficient way, that would be something I would be willing to look at. Into
the Vicky says, well, I'm very uncomfortable with this discussion of purposes and the right thing to do. I mean, surely knowledge for its own sake should be maximized, and then from there, policymakers will have their unfortunate influence over things. But our role here is merely to maximize the knowledge possible. The room erupts in debate about the proper role of ethics versus science, as you can imagine. That goes. Check your watch. That goes on for. But so anyway, but yes, these different viewpoints are held. But you guys can start seeing their applications of the chemistry are not bound by individual biological imperatives. So in many ways, you're like seeing the power of your own physiologies, but in a form that isn't a form of personal expression.
Right.
Fascinating.
Wow. Right. That's like,
yeah,
you can do that. So, right. So, oh no. I see.
They've hacked technology. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have. They've hacked you. Exactly. So and look at it this way: if somebody is turning their perceptual reality into their savage enemy, I mean, that could be horrifying. That could, basically lobotomize half of MerCap or something like that, right?